Once upon a time, in the beautiful city of Lagos, there lived a man named Jude. Jude was a very handsome bachelor, and many ladies desired him as a husband. Jude changed ladies as frequently as he changed styles. He had little or no time for romance. Once he targeted a woman, he pursued her, and once he got what he wanted, he moved on to another project. This behavior began during his university years. Ladies helped him with cooking and cleaning. Some even did his homework and studied so hard so they could sit beside him and assist him during exams. They did all of this out of love, believing that he genuinely cared for them. When he no longer needed them, he moved on. He was the bad boy on campus. Handsome, but very cunning. It wasn't long before his parents learned of his behavior. They had tried their best to raise a good man, but Jude made their efforts difficult. Jude refused to listen to their advice about playing around the ladies. When they asked if he would be happy if someone treated his sister or future daughters the way he treated other women, he said he would cross that bridge when he came to it. Besides, he had given his sister good advice to avoid men who didn't have good intentions, and he would also give his daughters good advice. They sighed and watched him walk away. One day, Jude met a beautiful young lady in school named Mimi. He was immediately attracted to her and knew he had to make her his girlfriend. He approached her and tried to woo her, but his usual tactics didn't work. He realized she was different. He asked her out on a date after her books fell to the ground and he helped pick them up. She thanked him but declined his invitation, hurrying to her class. Jude smiled. It had been a long time since he had to pursue a lady, as they usually wanted him, but he was deeply intrigued and determined to win her over. One day, Jude walked into her class holding flowers and approached her, offering them to her. The other girls were already blushing as he entered, and when they saw he was giving the flowers to Mimi, they were envious. She blushed and accepted the flowers as no one had ever done something like that for her before. Jude then asked her out in front of the class, professing sweet words, and she accepted. He told her when he would come pick her up, kissed her cheeks, and left for his class. Word spread around the school about what happened, and the ladies gave Mimi jealous glances. A few of Jude's ex-girlfriend warned her that he would use and dump her, and that she should stay away from him. However, Mimi didn't take their words seriously. She already envisioned a future with him, as he was a sweet talker and a charmer, and she believed he was perfect for her. She would reply to the other girls, "Just because it didn't work out with you doesn't mean it won't work out between us. We are made for each other," and then she would leave them with a smile. They went out on several occasions, but only kissed. Whenever Jude tried to initiate lovemaking, she backed down and refused. He repeatedly asked, "Don't you love me?" She would reply saying, "Yes, but I'm not ready for that yet." Jude was getting frustrated but didn't show it. He apologized, suggesting that if her first time was unpleasant, that he would make it pleasurable for her. She said that wasn't the problem, that she was a virgin. Jude's eyes widened and he asked, "Wait, are you a virgin?" She nodded and said she wanted to save herself for marriage. Jude laughed and Mimi looked at him puzzled. He apologized, saying, "No one does that anymore. It's so 80s. I mean, what makes you think I'm not your husband? I love you so much, and the only way to prove my love is by making love to you. But you won't let me, so how am I supposed to get closer to you?" Mimi asked him to understand her, saying she wasn't ready for that kind of relationship yet, and she was afraid of getting pregnant. She said they're just fine just being in a regular relationship. He replied saying, "Who's talking about a baby? We're not kids anymore. Besides, my pull-out game is very good." Mimi wasn't interested in hearing more and felt uncomfortable, so she asked to leave, saying she had to prepare for a test the next day, and she left. He watched her walk away, determined to be the one to take her virginity. With this new information, he persisted, taking her to movies and on dates at night, avoiding the topic of lovemaking until she was comfortable. One night after a movie, he kissed her forehead and said goodnight with a sad face. She invited him into her room, and when he entered, she said she was ready. With a wild smile, he gently approached her and made her feel comfortable, and then they made love. He was overjoyed, feeling like he had won the biggest trophy. Soon after, he collected the money he had bet with his friends who had doubted he could land this one. When Mimi found out, as the news spread, she had been the girl he had dated the longest. It made many girls jealous, and they had started to believe he truly loved her. But when they heard the shocking news, it spread like wildfire around the school, and they mocked her wherever she went. When she first heard the gossip, she didn't believe it and went to see Jude for an explanation. He told her he liked her, but it was all a game, and it was fun while it lasted. He said he was very angry, but since the bet money was substantial, he couldn't give it up. Besides, he forgave her because she was a virgin. Mimi felt like the ground should swallow her. She lost her focus in school and was afraid to go out as she was the subject of discussion everywhere. It broke her heart, and soon she became very sick. She thought it was because of what she was going through, but soon she started vomiting. She kept vomiting and had to go to the hospital, where it was confirmed she was pregnant. Confused, she went to see Jude, even though he was the last person she wanted to see. When she told him, he asked her why she hadn't used the morning after pill. She had believed him when he said his pull-out game was strong. He said he probably got carried away and forgot. He suggested she get rid of it and gave her money, saying he wasn't interested in being a father and didn't want to be associated with it. He told her never to contact him again. Mimi had to leave school and went home, and since then, no one heard from her. She didn't return to finish her studies, and all effort to reach her failed. Jude wasn't concerned as long as she didn't contact him. He finished school and went for his national service and continued his womanizing way. When his service year ended, his father asked him to join the family business but told him to change his behavior. Jude was reluctant to listen. One day, a friend told him he had contracted a deadly disease from sleeping with a stranger without using protection. He advised Jude to change his ways before it was too late. Jude promised to be more careful, but wasn't sure he would stop. Jude's father was a prominent figure in the business industry, and Jude joined him to learn the skills to become a better businessman. Although Jude loved fooling around, he was very intelligent and quickly learned his father's business, even introducing new ideas that worked well. His parents were proud of him in that aspect, but his habit of bringing different girls home was worrisome. Jude's parents decided to find a good girl who matched his preference and get him married, believing that having children will reduce his womanizing. They invited top business daughters for dinner and introduced them to Jude, but he told the ladies he wasn't interested in settling down, but they could date and see where it went. This led to broken hearts and damaged their reputation among their friends who didn't want Jude near their daughters. So the mission to find a wife for Jude ended. Jude continued his carefree life until one day he saw a beautiful lady at the shopping mall. He approached her and she introduced herself as Jennifer. Jude asked if they could meet up, but she declined, saying she didn't want to be part of his body count, and walked away. He smiled, wondering who she was. He was curious as he had never met anyone like her before. Paid for her groceries, and when Jude offered to pay, she politely declined, but he insisted. When he was done, he asked for her contact information, but she smiled, got into her car and drove off. Jude was stunned but promised to find her. Something about her was familiar, but he couldn't place it. He couldn't get Jennifer out of his mind. He asked around about her, but no one knew her. With no number or no picture to go on it, he had no way to trace her. Even searching on Facebook didn't help. He decided that if their paths crossed again, it was meant to be. One evening, while having drinks with his friends, he saw Jennifer. He was shocked at first and stood up to confirm if he was truly seeing her. Ignoring his friends' calls, he approached her table. He saw Jennifer having a drink with her friend. He said, "I thought that was you." She looked over her shoulder and saw Jude. Jude introduced himself to Jennifer's friend and asked if he could speak with her briefly. Her friend excused herself to go to the ladies' room. When she left, Jude sat down and asked Jennifer why she had driven up the other day when he asked for her number. She said nothing, only that she wasn't in the mood. And besides, what did he need her number for, if not to add her to his list of victims? Victims, he said. Well, I see you've done your research on me, and I barely even know you. But you know my name, she said. Yes, I know your name, but I don't have a way to reach you, he replied. She said that's because I don't want to be reached. Please, if you don't mind, I want to be left alone. Jude said he didn't know why he was so drawn to her, but he really liked her, and if she didn't mind, he just needed her number. They argued, and then her friend returned and called out Jennifer's number for Jude, which he thanked her for, and then left saying, "See you around." Jennifer was very angry with her friend Chicky for giving out her number. The next day, with a smile on his face, he dialed Jennifer's number. When she answered and realized it was Jude, she hung up. Jude tried to call again, but couldn't reach her. With the help of a friend who was good at tracking people's phone numbers, he found her location and went there, acting like it was a coincidence. He had to join her as she was eating at a restaurant. She was visibly angry and asked if he was following her. He said no, that he had something in the area, and someone had recommended the restaurant. She stopped eating, clearly about to leave her barely touched food, and Jude asked her what the problem was and why she was being so aggressive towards him. He said she barely knew him and wondered why she was treating him this way. Jennifer didn't know what to say. She stood there speechless. He told her to continue eating, saying he got the message, that he was bothering her and wouldn't come near her again. With a wave, he left the restaurant. He kept wondering if he had met her before, because her behavior suggested they had met before, and maybe she had a bad experience with him, or maybe men had hurt her badly. Jude's parents noticed that for 3 weeks, he hadn't brought a lady home and was always lost in thought. They wondered what was troubling him, and when they asked him, he acted like it was nothing. But his mother persisted and told him that if he was a lady who wouldn't give him the time of day. She persisted, and he told her it was a lady who wouldn't give him the time of day. This made the mother happy, and she decided to bring them together. She hired a private investigator and found out that Jennifer owned an interior decor shop. She invited Jennifer to her home, saying she wanted to redecorate. She also called Jude home, claiming there was an emergency, so they would meet at the same time. Her plan worked perfectly. As soon as Jennifer arrived and was shown the living room, she sat with Jude's mother, discussing curtains and rugs. Then Jude walked in and asked, "Mom, what's the urgent matter?" Jennifer looked up and saw Jude. Jude, looking at Jennifer, asked, "What are you doing in my home?" She said, "Is Mrs. Okayo your mom?" Jennifer smiled at Jude's mom and continued talking about the curtains. Jude kept looking at Jennifer, unable to take his eyes off her, as if he wanted to speak but couldn't find the words. He turned and left for his room, saying he needed to get something. Jude's mother asked Jennifer if she knew her son. Jennifer said yes. She asked if Jennifer was her future daughter-in-law, and Jennifer laughed, saying, "Mrs. Okayo, you are funny." "No, ma'am, your son is just a friend." "I see," Mr. Okayo said. "With this drama, I'm sure you're more than friends. Please forgive my son and give him a chance. I can see he truly loves you. And if you do, please don't turn him down." Jennifer was numb and speechless. Soon, Jude came downstairs, kissed his mother's forehead, and glanced at Jennifer, who wouldn't look at him, and left. Mrs. Okayo and Jennifer finished discussing the decorations, and Jennifer left. Later that day, Jennifer called Jude to meet up. When they met, Jude said he was surprised she had called, given how she had looked at him at his home. "What changed your mind?" he asked. "Well, I felt I was too harsh on you and decided to clear the air between us. I'm sorry for how I treated you. I hope you can forgive me." Jude was surprised but said, "I'll only forgive you if you agree to go on a special date with me." "Special date? What's so special about it?" Jennifer asked. He said, "For starters, I'm sitting in front of a woman who makes my heart skip beats. A woman I know I don't deserve. A woman who has given me a chance. If this isn't special, I wonder what is." Jennifer laughed and said, "Please don't flatter me." Jude said, "Wow, you have such a lovely smile, and you've been hiding it from me." They laughed and got to know each other better. At the end of the day, she agreed to the special date. He drove her home feeling happy that she was letting him in, little by little. He went home feeling accomplished and couldn't wait to see her again. His mother noticed he was happier and asked if everything was okay. He replied that everything was fine. He told his friends that he had found the one and wanted to settle down with. That all the running around with women was getting tiring. He needed something better. They were happy for him and cheered him on. After a few days, he planned a romantic dinner where he proposed to Jennifer and she joyfully accepted. It brought them immense joy and wedding plans were soon on the way. Jennifer and Chiki went wedding shopping and Chiki helped her friend pick out a lovely wedding gown. Jude's mother and father were also involved. They wanted the wedding as soon as possible before he changed his mind as their son was unpredictable. The preparations were completed and the wedding day arrived. They both looked beautiful. They walked down the aisle, professed their love for each other, and they were declared husband and wife. Joy erupted and the celebration ended. Jude turned a new leaf, avoiding women as much as possible and trying to be faithful to his wife. This went on for a long time, and one day his friends teased him saying, "So you're not cheating? What if your wife has taken over the baton?" He asked what had brought on that conversation and reassured them that Jennifer was the best in the world and would never cheat on him. They said okay, but he saw the look on their faces, and to prove them wrong, he said he would hire a private investigator to follow her for a week. They laughed and told him not to be heartbroken when the results came back negative. He asked his friend if there was something he knew and wasn't saying, but his friend said nothing and told him to wait for the investigator. Jude contacted the private investigator to follow his wife's every move and report back to him. He continued his usual conversation with Jennifer, asking about work and her project. She replied that everything was going well and mentioned the job she was working on. He offered his help if she needed. She thanked him, got ready and went to work. Jude ate the food Jennifer had prepared for him, but his mind kept going back to what his friends had said, and the fear of the findings, despite his confidence in her, kept him uneasy. A week passed and the men gathered at their usual spot. The investigator arrived with pictures and documents. After he was paid, he left. Jude took a deep breath before opening the envelope. Inside, he saw pictures of Jennifer at work, and then a picture of her in a car, receiving a substance from a young man. Another picture showed her basting a grave with flowers, and the name on the grave was Mimi Akan. That was the same surname as Jennifer. Then it clicked. Mimi, his ex, whom he had last seen when she told him she was pregnant and then disappeared. She was dead? How? His friend asked him if he hadn't been told about Mimi. He said no, that Jennifer had told him she lost her younger sister when she was little and called her by a native name he didn't remember. He said he had never seen her picture as they had hidden anything that would remind them of her, and he hadn't pushed for more information. He was confused. What was the substance she had received from the man in the car? His friends told him that if Mimi was truly Jennifer's sister, he should be very careful, as it could be revenge. They advised him not to eat her food if possible, and to be cautious and smart. They told him to let them know when he confronted her, so they could be nearby just in case. Jude felt like he was dreaming, but he was determined to get to the bottom of the truth. He went home with the new information, scared of who he had married and what she had planned for him. Jennifer beckoned him to the dining table where she had served food. When he arrived, he saw a plate of food already set for him and another for her. She went to get water and juice, and he quickly swapped plates. He waited for her to return. When she did, they sat down to eat. Picked up his phone and texted his friend saying he was about to do it. They said grace and Jude began to speak. "Jennifer, you know I love and care about you so much. I've done many foolish things in my past that I regret, but I don't regret marrying you. You're one of the biggest blessings." Jennifer smiled and said, "You flatter me so much." "Thank you, darling. I love you too." He asked her what she had done all week. She mentioned her work project, and he asked if that was all. She said yes. He asked, "Who did you visit at the grave then?" She almost choked on her food and asked, "What?" He repeated, "Who did you visit at the grave?" She said she hadn't gone anywhere, and he tossed the picture of her at the gravesite. She asked, "Are you following me?" He said, "Of course not, I have work to do." "But why lie?" "You went to see your sister." She was quiet. "How long were you planning to lie to me that Mimi is your sister?" Jennifer looked at Jude and said, "Oh, now you remember who Mimi is. When you got her pregnant, you didn't know who she was. When she killed herself by hanging, after the shame you brought to our family, you didn't bother to look for her. As long as it didn't affect you, right?" Jennifer's eyes burned with rage. "You finished school, got a good job, while my sister, who was bright and had a good life ahead of her, you intentionally destroyed, and you think you would ever find peace." Jude was shocked and speechless. Jennifer said, "Well, since we are confessing, I never wanted to date you even when you said I looked familiar. I thought it would jog your memory, but of course not, when you change women like water. But I have been faithful to you since we got married," Jude said. Jennifer said, "Does it look like I care? I mean, you hurt my only sister, the absolute love of my life, and I swore to take revenge on you." Jude was now scared. He flung a picture at her and asked, "What did you collect from the man in the vehicle?" She smiled and said, "You hired a private investigator, right?" He was quiet. "Well, that's the last dose of the slow poison I've been giving to you for a month now. Hope you're enjoying your meal." He smiled and asked, "Hope you're enjoying the meal, as you're the one eating the poisoned food." She stopped eating immediately and rushed to vomit, but she couldn't. She then ran to her bedroom, with Jude following her. She grabbed a small bottle from her purse containing an antidote, and as she tried to drink it, Jude snatched it from her hands. "So you don't want to die, but you want me to die. What have I ever done to you?" he asked. "You're still asking? After what you did to my sister." He threw the medicine to the ground. She picked up her phone to make a call. Jude called his friends and asked them to come take him to the hospital. He narrated everything that had happened. His vitals were checked, and some of his organs were deteriorating, and his sperm count was affected. He was admitted to stay in the hospital until he recovered. His parents wanted Jennifer arrested, but he told them to let her go, saying he was paying for his crimes, and he was just happy he found out in time. He recovered, but he was told that he had a short time to live and could not father a child. This broke him. He wondered if he had taken the responsibility for Mimi, a girl he truly loved eventually. Maybe he would be a father now. This taught him a bitter lesson. He never heard from Jennifer again, and the marriage was dissolved. He changed and turned a new leaf, helping underprivileged young boys, educating them on how to live their lives and not hurt people, as they might never know how and when it would affect them. He never had a child and died at a young age. The end. Lessons to be learned from this story. Whatever you sow, you shall reap. You might think you've gotten away with something, but it will eventually catch up with you. Do not hold a grudge. Let nature take its course, as you might bear the brunt of it. Treat people the way you would want to be treated. You can also add what you have learned from this wonderful story. You can also click on this link, another amazing story from this channel. I'm working on the soft copy of this story. If you're interested, comment "I want one" and I will send you a free copy as soon as it's ready. It will only be available for free to those who indicate interest here and within a limited time frame. If you still want the story after the free period, I'll post the link so you can get your own copy. And I'll see you in the next one, my loves. Till then, bye! Thank you so much for watching till the end. Please click on the subscribe button to support us, turn on the post notification to get notified when I upload a new story, like, share, and comment your thoughts. Till then, bye!